Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. As many of you may know, although it has not been heavily publicized, the federal NDP, their leader Jagmeet Singh, has come out and publicly said that they plan on supporting the Liberal budget and thus allowing the Liberal government, the Liberal NDP coalition government, to continue to stand potentially until the election is called towards the end of 2025. So potentially another year and a half of this coalition government. So why would the NDP continue to support this Liberal government, which is languishing so poorly, so badly in all of the polls that, it's obvious if an election were held today, what would happen. And potentially that's why the NDP party is doing what they can to prop up the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party's disapproval ratings are through the roof, potentially as bad as it's ever been for any government. The public support for the budget, the majority of the population don't support the budget. The majority, a huge majority, over 70% of the Canadian voters believe that it's time for a change in government. So why is the NDP not allowing that to happen? Well, it's not a good time for an election for the NDP. The NDP is trending downwards in the polls. You can look these up. I recommend using 338 Canada as a site that I use. They don't do the polling, but what they do is they do modeling based on polling conducted by Ipsos, by Leger, by Nanos, and they come up with their projections. So the NDP is trending downwards nationally, and then in certain ridings. The riding that I live in is currently, we have an NDP member of parliament. His name is Taylor Bachrach. And he won his riding by a very narrow margin back in the last election. In fact, if the People's Party candidate had not been running, there's a good chance this riding would have swung to the Conservatives back then. But now the Conservative lead in this riding is so high that this is considered a strong bet to swing back to Conservative for the next election. So, I mean, that's a good sign for those who do not support the Liberal NDP coalition government that we're stuck with right now. So why are the NDP holding on? Well, it's not a good time for them. They know that they stand to lose seats and lose relevance in Parliament if an election is to be held. So they don't want that to happen. So they're trying to kick the ball down the road in hopes that there'll be some groundswell of support for them, or more likely what they're hoping for is for people to move away from the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre, which I really don't see happening. I think if anything, by the time we have an election, we're going to see more people swing in that direction. The only other reason I could think for them wanting to hold on is that they're going to use the limited time they have left as an opportunity to cram down their agenda on the rest of us and force through as many policies, many of their socialist policies as they can before they're forced into irrelevance. So I guess the only solution that we have until now and then, the only pressure that we can apply is if you live in an NDP held riding, especially one where your NDP candidate or member of parliament is looking like they're in threat of losing their seat in the next election, is to initiate a petition of recall against that member of parliament. Maybe we should do that with Taylor Bachrach here in Skeena, Bulkley Valley. The NDP is actively working to suppress the desire of a huge majority of the public, of the voters in Canada. Somewhere in the neighborhoods of 75% of Canadians want a change in government. They want it now. So the NDP is working against 75% of Canadians. And I think that this may be a way that we can use to put pressure on the NDP to allow an election to happen. So that's my proposal, a petition of recall against your NDP members of parliament. So until next time, do what you can to combat the rising cost of living here in Canada and in British Columbia. I've got a video coming up very shortly here where I'll be addressing the housing crisis in British Columbia again. and we'll see you then. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so, as we are trying to grow the channel. And share this video with people you think would like to hear about it, and hit me up in the comments.